Everybody has prophetic perspective notes. Oh, okay. I missed that. So, just to let you guys know, can we turn this down a little bit? Thank you. So, yesterday we never got through the other notes. So, take them and ask Holy Spirit. Those of you that are doing the internship, I believe it's the first week, we're going to really be going into those notes. An agreement. How to agree with Holy Spirit, how to agree with heaven, and how to walk in agreement. It's good stuff, but what he's doing is better. So I'm going to jump into prophetic perspective, and it's kind of leading off into agreement. So just follow me as much as you can with that. So the prophetic is calling people to come into agreement with God. We did talk a little bit about that without going into agreement yesterday. So it's bringing forth the things of heaven onto earth, bringing people into agreement with the Father. So if that's what it is, then we have to understand perspective, right? It's calling people into agreement with God. We have to understand, how do we do that? How do we bring people into agreement with God? Does anybody know? Okay, great. It's good. It begins with perspective. What do you see? So it begins with perspective, but it has to start not with your perspective, but his perspective. What does he see? You want to agree with that. You don't want to agree with what you see, what you think, what you feel, your counsel, the ungodly counsel, right? Psalm 1, don't stand in ungodly counsel. That would be you. Thank you. A lot of times people don't get my jokes. It's really true. It really is true. So how do we get his perspective is the question. If it begins with perspective, begins with his perspective, how do we get his perspective? It starts with his nature, who he is. Seeing him rightly. So in order to have his perspective, you have to first see who he is. You have to understand who he is. And we're never going to completely know all of who he is. I mean, we'll spend eternity discovering who he is. But there are some foundational things that are really important, like he loves. That God is love. You have to know that. You have to know that he's kind. You have to know that he cares. You have to know that he's good. That's his nature. It's his heart. He's a father. He's a good father. He's a father he's not a distant father. He's a near father that cares. You have to know that. Now listen, I'm going to talk about things that are really important for your own personal life. But this is foundational for prophecy. The foundation of what do you see? What are you bringing people into agreement with? You can have revelation of something. You can see a picture. But if you don't have a right understanding of who he is, you're off. The train is headed down the mountain and it's crashing. And you're taking people with you. Really. So we cannot clearly understand or have correct perspective on any situation, not just prophecy, but any situation in your life or in anyone else's life, apart from starting with who he is. The way you see is directly related to what you believe about who he is. I'm going to get into that in a minute. When we understand his nature, it helps us to go forward into understanding. When you understand who he is, it helps you move forward in understanding what he's doing. His ways are directly related to his nature. People do things based on who they are, right? You act a certain way. You respond certain ways. You make decisions based on an inward reality, right? It's the same way with him. His ways, what he does, reflects who he is. The cross is an expression of who he is. God so loved that he gave. He did something extravagant, but it reflects the who. It reflects his heart, that he's a God who loves, that he's so loved that he gave. He gave the thing most precious to his heart. He gave extravagantly. He emptied himself and gave. It's who he is. He's a giver, and he gives all, and he gives extravagantly, and he's still giving all. He didn't stop. He's still giving all, and he's still giving extravagantly. Do you know that he's an abundant, extravagant God? He's extravagant with you. He's abundant with you. He has abundant plans for you. That's why I had Christy paint this on the wall. How abundant. How abundant. Abundant. He's abundant. He's full. He's rich. He's abundant. How abundant is your goodness? How abundant is your goodness you have stored up for those who fear you, for those who love you, for those who put their trust in you. The reason we're not walking in that, the reason we're not receiving it is because we're not receiving it. Not because he's not giving it, or not because he didn't already give it. He gave it. He poured it all out at the cross. And the cross is still going, still there. His abundance is still flowing. His goodness is still flowing from you, towards you. So his understanding his nature helps us to go forward into what he's doing and then the why he's doing it. So who is he first? Then you understand what he's doing and then the why. Why are you doing that? This is important for prophecy. Getting deeper into prophecy. It's great. I'm not knocking, you see a picture, you declare it, and it encourages someone. That's great. But I believe that the Lord's taking us into a greater agreement, greater understanding, greater place of partnership with his heart in building a city called the bride, where we build with wisdom, with words, the testimony of Jesus. It's what I talked about yesterday. We come alongside, we're partnering with him, building this city called the bride. And how is she changed? How is she built? How is she built up? How is she established? How does she come forward? Only by seeing him. Only by knowing him. And when you have understanding of these components, when you see him and you understand what he's doing and the why he's doing it, there's actually a faith that's released because of understanding to actually declare those things. So we're not just giving information. Who needs information? Wah, 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 wah. But you actually can partner with him in declaring those things. My team will tell you, I'm a pusher. Don't say it, declare it. If you see it, declare it. Don't give information, declare it. Don't just say what you're seeing. Partner with him and declare it. Build with him by declaring it. That's another class. So all of you are already seeing something. Whether you know it or not, you are seeing something. Everyone is seeing something. So just think about it for a minute. When you wake up in the morning, or even right now, just take a minute. Think about it. What do you see about your life? When you think about your future, what do you see? And what you see is directly related to who you believe he is. Are you hopeful about your future? Do you see an abundant future? Do you see a future full of joy, peace, goodness? Or do you look forward into your future and see struggle and hardship? And there will be struggle and hardship. That's good news, by the way. What do you see? Think about it for a minute. Let's just close your eyes. Think about it for a minute. Just take note of what you see. And be real. Don't just be real with yourself. Now ask him, is this in agreement with who you are? And some of you may get stuck there. Like, wow, I don't know. I don't know who you are here in this place. That's a starting point for you. A starting point for you to go back to him. Search out the word. Search out his heart. Get understanding of who he is, wherever that place is for you. Is it healing? Do you believe that healing's in your future? If you don't, then there's something you're misunderstanding about who he is. Because let me tell you, he's a healer. The same thing applies for hearing. When you grow in learning his voice, you learn how he talks. The sound of his voice. His voice has a sound. When you hear his voice, is it kind? Or do you hear a harsh father standing over you, demanding you to get it right? Challenged my team with this before. I said, listen, keep your ear open and listen for the sound. Just throughout your day, let your ear be open to sound. You can hear him in others' voices. His sound, his voice has a sound. It's directly related to who he is. It's really important. Most important thing in your life is to know him. And to know him for who he really is. Because whatever you see, and remember, what you see is related to who you believe he is. Your internal reality affects what you see. Whether you know the Lord or don't know the Lord, what you believe about who he is steers your life. It steers your seeing. And whatever you see steers your life. Whatever you see steers your life. Because your seeing is directly related to your believing. You guys with me? Your seeing is directly related to your believing. How many times did Jesus say, according to your faith, let it be done to you? What do you see? What do you believe? So I'm talking about even your way into inheritance, into the goodness, the promises, the abundant promises that he has for you, have to line up with who he is to obtain the fullness of those things. Your faith level is directly related to what you believe about who he is. Faith works by what? Love. Faith comes how? You ever wonder about that? Faith works by love, and it comes by hearing. Faith works by love. What do you love? What do you see? To the degree that you know him, rightly, is to the degree that you're going to walk by faith. So whatever area it is, if it's finances, for example, to what degree do you believe that he really is truly the God who supplies for you? According to his riches, according to his glory. To the degree that you believe that he's the one who supplies for you is the degree that you're going to walk out that truth in faith. And the situations and the challenges that come that challenge your faith, count it all joy. Why? Because you're about to come into him, the knowledge of him, if you respond rightly. It's why sometimes, you see people stuck in situations. Or we talked a little bit about this yesterday. And they can't move out of these places. Financially, whatever it is. And they're wrestling and they're fighting, and the enemy comes and tells them how horrible they are, how much they failed, and how they made so many wrong turns. And situations like that are actually gifts. Reality is confronting you in those places. The Holy Spirit declaring who he is in those places. It's kind of what Mel talked about yesterday when she gave her testimony about the internship. It's seeing every situation in your life as an opportunity to grow in the knowledge of him. Because the Holy Spirit is always revealing Jesus. Always revealing Jesus. So these things that if you're moving forward in the Lord, if you're running after him, you're going to come into barren places. You're going to come into those valleys and move through the mud. If you're going forward in him, you will. And how you respond in those times are important. If you understand what he's doing and you understand that he's kind, you understand that this is an opportunity, that these are gifts, it helps you move quicker through things. Who is he right now in that situation? If you're stuck, you're only misunderstanding something about him. If you're anxious or fearful in any area in your life, it's because you're misunderstanding something about who he is. Because he's always moving forward. Do you know he's not stuck? He's not standing still. He's always moving forward. He's always progressing. The Holy Spirit's always moving, always after conformity. Remember, he's leaping on mountains, conquering nations. So where is the area where you're stuck, where you feel stuck or frustrated? You trying to solve your problem? Trying to fix yourself? Wrong answer. Have fun there in that mud pit. Get dirty, muddy. Ask. Who are you? It's your ticket out. I have good news. You have a ticket out. In him is righteousness, peace, and joy. Fear, anxiety, depression, hopelessness, any of those things that you're feeling are not the kingdom. They're not him. Your way back into agreement, your way back into right position is based on who he is. I'm drilling it in. So this is for your own personal life, but again, it's a perspective for prophecy. Remember when we talked a little bit about yesterday about how when you see people in hard situations, sometimes how you want to just dive in and make them feel better because you think you're more merciful than God. Remember? You think God's not kind, so you have to make people feel better. You have to step in because God's not doing his job. You guys remember that? So, again, prophecy comes in, bring people into agreement with who he is, then what he's doing, and then why is he doing it. First the who, then the what, and then the why. If you don't start with the who, you're off. You've already got off the track, and the train's headed down the mountain about to crash. And the why is God doing something? Why is he doing it this way? Why is he working that way in someone's life? First, who is he? You have to know he's good. You have to know he's kind. You have to know he cares. You have to know that he loves. So God, why are you doing this? Foundation, he cares. And he's good. In every situation, he's good. When Joseph was in the pit, God was still good. I know that you guys would all agree with me when Jesus was on the cross, God was good. The Father was good. The cross was his goodness. That bloody, disruptive situation from man's perspective is so offensive. It offended Israel. The cross is offensive to Israel. Why? It's offensive to many people. Why? Why would a God do that? Why would a God put his son on a cross? Perspective. God put his son on a cross to demonstrate love. But because we don't know who he is, we move into this arrogant place where we go, what kind of God puts his son on a cross? Look at how he suffered. Why would you let your son suffer like that? And he's like, how would you know? How would you know my extravagant love? If I didn't give you the thing that was so precious to me and let you see my love. Let me demonstrate my love by giving you something so precious to me that my heart, that my son would suffer that way so that you would know the extent of my love. It's the same thing in people's personal lives. We move into the same thing. We walk around offended at God in our own lives. Why do you do that? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? He's declaring his name. So giving an accurate word, an accurate prophetic word based on first knowing you in your own heart as a person who's prophesying, knowing that he's good and kind and you're not disrupted when you get a revelation or you see someone in a hard place, that you can be rooted and grounded in the reality that God is good and that he's confident and that he has good plans for a person's life. You're not moved. You stay rooted in his love. You stay rooted in who he is. You can actually give a word that is rooted in him, that's rooted in truth, that will actually help. True comfort. And what we said yesterday, what is true comfort? The knowledge of God. True comfort, edification. The church is edified. The church is built up only by the knowledge of God. No other way to build. No other way to build. What is prophecy? Comfort, edification, exhortation, right? Have you ever thought, what does edification look like? How do you truly edify someone? Do you think that your nice, pretty words are going to edify someone? Sorry. I'm not sorry, really, but I can say things a little. I get corrected sometimes. Michelle, talk a little nicer. I say that to Jesus when he looked right at Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan." No. So here's some examples on page 2 I just want to point out some of these examples of the cloud of witnesses that we have. Great cloud of witnesses that I believe walked this way. The reason they could walk the way that they walked is because they saw something. Remember, what you see steers your life. So B, seeing what Abraham saw. And I just want to point out some key things in these different scriptures. It says Hebrews 11, when by faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. Like, go there. Apply this to your own life. Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. He went out not knowing where he was going. Abraham obeyed the word, not knowing. Didn't have a clue where he was going. Can anyone relate? Do you know there's a place you can come to in that where you just have joy and peace and you don't worry a thing about it? I don't need to know where I'm going. I don't need to know where I'm going. What's your plan? Somebody said to me the other day, I hope that person's not here. What's your vision? I'm just a simple little girl, honestly. What's your vision? I said, Jesus? No. What's your vision? For Ancient Paths, for Samuel Company. I don't have one. I have one. It's Jesus. I don't need to know. I just need to see him. I need to just be locked eyes with him, love him every day, follow him. He's a good leader. If I stop and try to figure out or get a plan or get my grand vision, I will screw it up. I'm not being funny. I am sure to screw it up. So I know it doesn't work. I've tried it. So I gave up. I gave up. I surrendered and I gave up. And I chose him. I chose every day to love him, every day to look at him, every day to give my heart to him, and it makes me happy. I'm a happy person. Because I don't have to have a plan. I don't have to have it figured out. I don't have to know. I don't have to know what we're doing. That doesn't mean he doesn't speak and say, here's what's going to happen. Here's what you do. Because he does. He speaks to us. But it's coming from a place of adoration and love and just gazing at him in just a place of love where I'm not like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are we going? I just love him. And then he says, here's the next step. Here's what's coming, Michelle. Okay. It's based on communion, not out of me trying to get something, trying to figure it out. Why do we have to know? Why do we have to get it figured out? I'll tell you why, because you're scared. You got to have the plan so you feel safe. Yep. You have a plan, you feel safe. Okay, I know what's going on. I love the planners on our team. So grateful for them. Really, I mean, I'm not saying planning's bad. But I believe there's a place where you can plan out of that same heart posture. Not trying to make a plan, but he gives you the plan. It's different. It's very different. So I encourage you guys, give up. Give up. Surrender. Choose him. Look at him. Gaze at him. It's all going to be okay. He's a really good leader. He's a better leader than you are a follower. What if I don't follow you right? What if I make the wrong decision? Still okay. Settle this issue. You're going to make wrong decisions. And it's okay. He's not looking for perfection from you. He's not looking for you to get it all right. You're on a journey of love. You're on a journey of discovering him. Remember, what is your life purpose? Why are you here? You're here because you have a God who loves. You have a Father, a Creator who created you because he loves. It's a love story. And you're on a journey of love. You're not here to figure it out and get it right. Make it to the end. I'm going to make it to the end. And I'm going to do it perfectly. I'm not going to screw up. I'm not going to make any bad decisions because I'm going to hear from the Lord. He'll mess that up, I promise. He will. Because he's not after that. The minute you think you have it figured out, he'll change it up. Because we live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. You're called to live on living bread. His name is Jesus. You're called to be in this abiding communion place with him. Daily bread with him. Give me this day my daily bread, Jesus. And you live out of that place of abiding. And I'm telling you, in that place of abiding, there's no figuring it out. There's no plan apart from what he gives you. So Abraham went out not knowing where he was going. By faith. How does faith come? He dwelt in the land of promise as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. He waited for the city, which has foundations. So here it was. There was a city, a promise. He had a promise. How could he believe? How did he have faith? Because he saw something. What did he see? It's in that last verse. Whose builder and maker is God. He saw a city. He believed for a city, an inheritance, a promise. How was he able to believe? He knew the builder and maker, God. Seeing what David saw. Same thing. In 1 Samuel 17, then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you." What did David see? I come to you. David saw something in the name. What does the name represent? What does a name represent? His nature. We were talking about this yesterday. When people use the name of Jesus like a magic wand. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. I said, do you know what it means to come in the name of Jesus? When you say in the name of Jesus, when I say I come to you in the name, I'm coming to you in all that he is. I'm coming to you in his nature. What a promise we have, that we can come in the name of Jesus. You know, Jesus, that was the prayer Jesus prayed to the Father. Keep them in your name. Keep them in who you are. Keep them in your nature. Through the cross, we come in him. So basically what we're saying is I'm coming to you in him. In who he is. Not a magic wand. In the name of Jesus. I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts is the God who fights. The God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. This day the Lord will deliver you. What did he see? What did he know? I see this God, and this is what he's going to do. I see the builder. He's building a city. I see the Lord of hosts. What is he going to do? He's going to deliver you into my hand. David wasn't coming in his own puffed up, ability. He was coming in the name. He was coming in the knowledge of a person. And I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth. And I love this heart of David in this. And this is huge. What was David's motivation in that situation? That all the earth may know that there's a God in Israel. He wasn't coming in his own agenda. He wasn't coming in his greatness. He said, I have a passion and a desire for the God of Israel. And I'm coming to you in his name, and you will be delivered into my hand. He was in complete agreement with the Father. But his passion was for the Father's name. Oh, well, here we go. Moreover, David said, this is another important concept to get. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. Now, what did David know there? He had something that he had built on. He remembered. Power of remembering. We go over that in the internship. I don't know if Jen taught that yesterday. It's in the notes, but the power of remembering. David was building on a knowledge of God that he had from the past. He was building off of this reality of who God is experientially. He stepped out in faith, I'm sure, with the paw of the lion and the bear, right? God delivered him. Something was rooted in him in that moment of who God is. Every time you come up against a lion or a bear, and you move into that place of faith of this is who God is, and you take ground, you're laying stones. You're laying stones that you build on and the knowledge of God. And do you know those things are never taken from you? They are eternal. Eternal. It's powerful. Never taken from you. It's nothing saddens my heart more than to see people in cages, afraid and locked up. you start to take steps and conquer, face fear head on. Let him move on your behalf. Begin to build on that with him. You will not come into fullness. You will not come into your promises. You will not come into your inheritance with fear in your life. Fear is a destiny stealer. A liar, liar, liar. Do you know what fear's... Oh, okay, I'm going to go there. Do you know what one of fear's favorite expressions? Huh? Yes. What if? What if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I step out and this happens? What if I do that and that happens? Can I just tell you something? That is not the voice of God. Anytime you hear a what if, it's a lying voice. I love it. Just confront that thing. And you know what? Shame it. Saying, yep, let me step. Let me take a leap. What if this happens? Jesus. That voice comes, point them to Jesus. They love it. What if he's a good shepherd? What if he's a Psalm 2 God seated on the throne laughing? What if I get hurt? He's a healer. Point them to Jesus. He never, ever says what if. It doesn't exist in him. He's fully confident in love. There is no what if in him. And I have more good news. You will stumble. You will fall. You will make mistakes. You will get it wrong. There'll be times when your heart is broken. There are times where people will lie. They'll deceive you. They'll hurt you. But you're free. Those things have no power over you. They have no power over your joy. Do you know that? They have no power over your joy. Pain has no power over your joy. You give it power over your joy because you let it, because you listen to a lying voice. But it in itself has no power over your joy. Because again, it comes down to who is he? I'll share this. I'm not going to say that. I had a time in my life where it was a hard place in my life, and I've learned that when challenges come for me and hard things come for me, even though sometimes in the beginning I can get thrown off balance, I've learned something. I've learned that when those things happen, I look for Jesus. I look for who he is. I look for where he is, because he's acquainted with all of our situations, all of our pain. He's fully acquainted with it. So I look for him. And so I had a situation going on in my life back a few years ago, and I said, Jesus, where are you in this? Who are you in this? And immediately I was brought into the council room when Jesus was standing before the council before he was going to the cross. And they were mocking him. They were spitting at him. They were smacking him, saying, prophesy, prophesy, accusing him. And I'm standing there with him. And I was aware in the room that he had nothing but love for those people. That nothing but love was radiating from his heart. And I asked him, how are you able to feel nothing but love? Because I went, I'm not there. I need to be there where you are. How, Jesus? And immediately I was brought into his perspective. I could see what he was seeing. And Jesus was not, his reality was not based on what was going on here. His reality, his belief, I'm searching for the word, his reality is the only word I can come up with. Though he was there, it wasn't what he saw. And I'm getting ahead because I have that on here too. Jesus saw something. And I saw it as I'm there with him. He's looking at the Father, gazing at the Father. And all he saw was the Father's love for him. And it made him so confident in the Father's plan that it made the circumstances in the natural not able to touch him. Not in this place that could take him out, if you know what I mean. He had a place, that reality of the Father's love for him that made him so confident. And it's his life. It wasn't just that one situation. It was Jesus' life. He was so united with the Father and the Father's love. I promise you, it was about love. It was the Father, it was the prayer that Jesus prayed in John 17 was for you and for me to come into that union with them in love. So his life was rooted in this reality of the Father's love and confidence in the Father's love. That it strengthened him as a man in the flesh to walk out the Father's plan, to go to the cross. And I have that. Let's just go to page 4. I have something in there about Joshua and Caleb too, which is what I typically really go into, but you guys can look at it. It's Hebrews 12:2. It says, look unto Jesus. And this is what I was doing in that moment. Look unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. What does that mean? The author and finisher of our faith. Who, for the joy that was set before him, Jesus saw something. He endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and discouraged in your souls. Jesus did the same thing. He saw the Father. He knew who the Father was, and it made him fully confident in the Father's plan. And it gives us, you, this is the same promise for you. Was for David, was for Abraham. When you see who he is rightly, it makes you confident. There's this confidence to go forward and not letting fear take from you or steal from you, and you obtain. So, G says, seeing people the way he sees them brings them forth. So we just want to jump back to prophecy for a minute. that this is important for you to see your own life this way, your own journey this way. What do you see? Write that in big letters with a big fat Sharpie. What do you see? Ask yourself. I encourage you, go to different areas in your life. What do I see here? 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 And after you ask what you see, come back and say, what do I believe about who he is here? Let it change your seeing. And you know what will happen? Things externally will begin to line up with that truth. Outward circumstances will change. So in prophecy, you have to have that same perspective when you're talking to other people, when you're prophesying over other people. Who are you, God? Who are you? Whether it's a good situation, perceived good situation, or perceived bad situation. I don't assume because I see someone happy and laughing that they're in agreement with God. How are you? There's a constant question we ask. How are you revealing yourself right now, God? How are you revealing yourself in someone's life? He's always doing it, always revealing himself. And your outward circumstances can give you a clue as to how he's doing that. So we just thank you, Holy Spirit, right now. We just thank you for your word, truth. We thank you that you love to reveal Jesus. It reveals the Father. Thank you for your word right now in each heart that's went out. We just bless that word. We bless that seed right now in every heart. And Holy Spirit, we thank you for watering. Thank you for growing. We just command that seed to take root and to produce eternal fruit for the Father. And I just thank you, Holy Spirit, for each person here, that you would continue to minister this word to them, that you would breathe on it, Holy Spirit, that their perspectives have shifted, that they would begin to see things differently, that they would begin to see you rightly, that everything in their lives would begin even more to line up with who you are, Jesus. That you would help them to remember to ask, who are you? And we thank you for your help in this, Jesus. Thank you for your help, Holy Spirit. We love you. Amen.